Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition, Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Not Yet, written by Sjanevardsson. Neri set her auto-injector into a slow spin into the air in front of her. She could use it now, or wait. Either way, the results would be the same. Dead is dead. She checked the readout on the console. Her orbit was in a steady, slow decay. At the current rate, short of using the injector, it was a toss-up as to which would do her in. Gamma radiation from the accretion disk leaking through the shielding, toxic buildup of CO2, or being shredded by passing through an excretion disk. It was meant to be a simple job. 2 weeks her time, 2.5 months to those on the station. Do a flyby of a black hole and give a boost to a probe on the way to keep it in orbit outside of the accretion disk. And was in the perigee of the maneuver when the unseen piece of debris slammed into her forward radiation shield, vaporizing itself and enough of her shield to slow her. The impact damaged multiple systems, including the cameras, and knocked the external main thruster off the ship. 3 of the maneuvering thrusters were still operational, and she was using them to keep the most intact part of the radiation shield between herself and the accretion disk, while the Geiger counter let her know just how much it was leaking through. She'd watched the probe pass by her twice now, higher the second time, based on the probe's speed and orbit parameters. She'd estimated her speed, and from there she figured out her orbital decay. Probably not the most encouraging use of her remaining time, but it had kept her mind occupied for a short time. She sent a distress call right away, but with the increasing time dilation, the nearer she got to the black hole, she had no way of knowing how long ago it was in their terms. Not that it mattered either way. They all knew this was a possibility every trip, thus the injector. This is Nihara Riki, Neri Cullen. I am declining orbit around 1S MU4A2. The Explorer 4 probe has been boosted into stable orbit above me. As I said in my last transmission, my main thruster is offline. Actually, it's probably in the accretion disk by now. And a large portion of my radiation shield has been vaporized in a collision with a fast-moving meteoroid of approximately 3 to 5 millimeters. I'm not certain how long it's been for you, but since my last transmission, it's been about an hour. I have the injector out, but I'm not ready to check out just yet. I'll be getting into the vac suit for the added radiation protection, and when the CO2 gets too high, I'll button up and use the oxygen from the suit. She let out a short laugh. I'm taking every second I have. I don't know why I'm prolonging it. I'm just not... I don't want to die. Not just yet. She keyed in the command that would compress the voice message and transmit it in a burst package. Neri left the injector floating in the cabin and squirmed into the IEVA's emergency suit. Once in the suit, she attached the ejector to the lanyard. There was no way to inject it through the suit, but she would deal with that issue when it came up. Neri floated to the command chair and strapped herself in. She called up the specs for the maneuvering thrusters, along with how much fuel for them remained. Based on the last positioning burn, she had a good estimate of the craft's new mass, now that it was minus part of its shield and external thruster. Orbital dynamics, she said. I can figure this out. She approached it as if it was a university assignment, trusting the suit for radiation protection. She stopped using the thrusters to keep her shield aligned in order to save every gram of propellant. At one point, she turned off the Geiger counter, as its steady noise was a nuisance. She thought that she'd come up with a workable plan and had a moment's jubilation before she reminded herself to double-check her work. Working through it from back to front gave her a ridiculous result. Once again, she worked the problem front to back and then realized that she'd assumed all 4 thrusters being operational. She picked up the mic again. This is Neri again. It's been a couple of hours since my last broadcast. I almost have enough propellant for the 3 working maneuvering thrusters to put myself in a very long slingshot. Almost, Neri sighed. The best I can do is extend my stay in orbit by another few hours. By that time, the CO2 scrubbers will have failed. I'll have used up all of the ship's oxygen, and I'll be burning out of oxygen from the suit's PLSS. I'm going to do it anyway. Every second I can eke from this killing bastard, I will. She programmed the burn into the positioning computer, set to fire at the perigee of the shallow, elliptical orbit to take advantage of the airburst effect. A few more kilos of propellant and I'd be out of here, but you're not killing me yet, she said to the black hole, its accretion disk represented by an arc of red at the edge of the navigation screen. She tried to count down the time to the burn in her head and was surprised when it kicked in while she was at 4. The ship spun as the 3 thrusters worked to both increase its speed and keep it from an inward trajectory. The spin was more pronounced than she expected, but the thrusters sputtered to a stop after only 94 seconds. The induced spin gave a very slight pseudo-gravity towards the port side. She forced herself to look at the display. Part of her wanted to believe that she had done better than hoped for, while another part of her worried it was far worse. The monitor told the story. She had extended her time outside the accretion disk for 9 hours and 17 minutes, give or take. The console notified her that the burn was complete, and her updated trajectory had been sent in a burst transmission, as it did after every burn. Neri spent the next hours trying to think of any way to escape her fate, while plots of waiting until the door was in just the right position, holding on to it, and blowing the emergency bolts. A quick bit of math in the console told her that that wouldn't be enough. She began to find it hard to breathe, panting, her heart racing. It was CO2 poisoning. Neri put on her helmet and buttoned up. The fresh oxygen from the suit was a welcome relief. The O2 readout on her sleeve said that she had 2 hours and 4 minutes of oxygen remaining. She keyed the mic in her suit to record another message. I'm buttoned up in the IEVA suit and on the PLSs. The ship's systems are out of oxy and the CO2 scrubber is done. I have 2 hours and 3 minutes of air left. When it gets down to the last, I'll use the injector, even if I'm not ready. I'm going out on my terms, not those of this bastard black hole. This will be my second to last transmission. Neri sent the burst transmission and worked on taking slow breaths. She was surprised how easy it was for her, given the circumstances, to remain calm. She sat, not focused on anything, the lights from the console a blur. She thought about every happy memory she could dredge up. The unhappy memories came along with them, but she accepted the price. Finally, she checked the O2 readout on the sleeve of her suit. 6 minutes remaining. She keyed the mic. I guess this is it, she said, tears hanging in globules in her eyes. I've only got a few minutes of air left. Then I'm going to cut open the suit and use the injector. I just wish the camera still worked so I could look this bastard in the eye when I do. I guess I love you all, even if I don't like you. Funny what it takes for that to sink in. She swallowed a sob. This is Naharika Neri Cullen signing off for the last time. She sent the burst transmission and heard a beep from the terminal. Neri switched the inbound from the terminal to a suit and keyed up the response to beep. Neri, come in. Hess here. On a rescue mission. Lunchbox, where are you? I'm plotting my flyby now. I've been en route for the past week. They sent me as soon as they got your initial distress call. The ship's banked up, and we don't have enough time to transfer fuel for another burn. I got that. That's why you've got to go EVA and kick off from the ship. I'll be deploying the DCS for you. How much air does your suit have left? 4 minutes. Looks like it's a one-shot trick. You need to get out now. You'll see me coming. The tethers will wrap around you and drag you in automatically. Wait, you're using the drone capture system on me? It is the best that we could come up with in the time we had. It'll probably hurt, so, why apologize in advance? Heading EVA now. Neri opened the door, hanging on while the stale air rushed out, then climbed out onto her ship. She positioned herself on the edge of the accretion disk was down, and she kicked hard against the side of the ship to separate herself from it. As she floated away from the ship, she looked down, her face shield darkening as the glow from the accretion disk lit her up. It may be murdering a bastard, she said, but my God, is it beautiful? That it is. Coming up on you now. Prepare for impact. Neri looked at the O2 readout. That had been flashed in a big red 0 for the last minute by then. I'm out of air. You might be too late, she panted. She saw the tendrils of the drone capture system splayed out behind Hess's ship. As they neared, She swung her arms to turn her back to it and went limp. Two of the tendrils made contact and whipped around her, jerking her into a motion behind the ship as her world went dark. She woke inside the ship with a worried Hess standing over her, holding an oxygen mask to her face. "Lunchbox, you're still skinny as hell," she said. "I thought we lost you," he said. Neri coughed and groaned as she sat up. "Not yet." End of story.
I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.